You can now find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and...
Oh, this isn't OnlyFans. This is I didn't realize we were actually doing the podcast until you started saying stuff about podcasting. I thought we were doing the OnlyFans.
That explains why your entire lower portion is covered in lubricant.
You know, I tell her all the time. I look her in her eyes and I say, "You have the nicest set of kneecaps that I've ever seen." Like, she's got the nicest kneecaps. I'd never seen elbows or kneecaps like hers. Her joints are just amazing. They really are, and it's meaningful to me,
right?
Because joints are very important on the body, and
they are.
You know,
what keep you going.
Sometimes you find somebody without a really nice joint, without a nice kneecap. I've seen a bad kneecap. And do you view employees as expendable?
Yes, they're worker ants to be used at my will.
Yeah, it's kind of a rhetorical question.
Right.
Do you view employees as expendable?
Right. Nobody's going to say yes.
Nobody's going to say yes. Well, I fucking said yes.
Welcome back.
Today is the day of all days.
Boys and girls.
Tacticon 2A Procast, episode Quattro?
Cinco.
De Mayo? Quattro.
Cinco.
Quattro.
You want to release this Quattro?
Oh, you wanted to do the other ones, Quattro and Cinco?
Well, we have Quattro coming up.
Part uno y dos.
No, uno.
So Quattro is coming up. Is that the one that I went on a fucking...
No. I want to talk to you about that one.
You don't like that one?
I don't like that one.
But why?
Do you want me to talk about it here?
Yeah. Why don't you like... We did a podcast 2 weeks ago that we were going to release last week, and it didn't sit well with me, so we did the Feed the Trolls episode instead. But apparently you have your reasons. The reason why I don't like it is because I went on a kind of a tirade about some things. Got pretty...
A tirade would be the lightest form of description.
It got pretty emotionally charged. So what do you want to do? Just release small tidbits of this thing and kind of drip feed it in the most careful of ways?
Well,
and just cut out all the...
Numero cuatro is actually gun laws. We haven't released that one yet.
I didn't even know we did that one.
Yep.
I got the memory of a fucking termite. So.
Little goldfish brain.
Little goldfish brain.
Little goldfish. No, that's
little bird brain.
That I was thinking that would be Quattro. This would probably be Cinco.
So why didn't you like
exactly what you said?
Because I went on a massive rampage.
It sounds a little preachy.
Who wants a rampage?
No one.
Let me know. Does anybody want to see me? Nobody. What if we just don't release it to the masses and we just give...
We can just take snippets.
We could just release the link to it in like one of the other episodes of podcast. Be like, listen, I don't want this to show up in your feed because God forbid you hear me ranting and raving. But if you want to see it, maybe we'll just post it in this podcast's episode. You just post a link to it and make it private.
Well, I also still don't have it edited.
I think that's why you don't want to release it.
Partially.
It's like a 2 hour editing
It's like
episode.
2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's one reason too. I'll be fully honest with that.
It was passionate.
It was. There was a lot of passion.
It was passionate.
It was fire in the loins. You had loin fire.
I had loin fire.
Yeah.
Speaking of passionate, I went up to Salem, Oregon.
Yes.
One point in time.
Okay.
And on my way up there, I picked up a hitchhike. Oop, hello, M&P. On my way up there, I actually picked up a hitchhiker.
How long ago was this?
This was, right before I met my wife.
Okay.
Like in between when, and like while I was single right before I met my wife, I was heading up there to see a buddy from the military. And I picked this it was like an older lady up, right? She was not like 50s. I'm talking like 70s.
Oof,
she was
cougar.
old. 70s.
Panther.
80s. Right. So she was super old. I ended up picking her up and like I felt pretty safe, obviously. You know, she was, it was fucking hot outside or cold or whatever it was. I forget, but she got in the fucking car. And she was going up my direction. And as we got going, she said she didn't have any money for gas. And she started referencing how she could pay for it in other ways. And so, I moved the stuff out of the way in the center console, and she leaned over, took the teeth out, and started going to town. And I'm getting to the point here, right? So she kept saying how passionate it was, which was pretty fucking outstanding. I didn't feel the same way, but she kept saying, you know, you're so passionate, and I was like, oh, you're passionate too. And she kept saying you're really passionate, and she would come up and look around and say it, and then come back down. It was very awkward. She kept saying you're passionate, and she would get up, she'd look around, she'd say you're passionate.
I feel uncomfortable just listening.
I know
to the story.
this is a very awkward story.
Yeah.
I know, and so bear with me. But I have no dignity, so you know I do what I got to do. As we approach farther, she eventually gets up and really pissed off, like genuinely angry. She gets up off of my lap and she goes, "You're passionate." And I was like, "I know." I said, "You're fucking passionate too." Right? And we're getting this fucking argument. She points out the window. She goes, "No, you're passionate. You passed it 3 exits ago." You like that one? I had an old man tell me that joke one time.
I thought you were telling me an actual story.
But it's only funny because it sounds like an actual story.
And I was
if it was the joke, it doesn't make it nearly as funny.
Yeah. And then I was about to ask,
Did
she really take out her teeth?
You're passionate.
But now it makes sense. You're passionate.
You've gone too far. You're passionate.
When a joke turns out to be a story.
You like that?
I did, actually. It wasn't quick, but it was good.
Yeah, I do what I can. That's podcasts are long form episodes that are of the essence of being
long.
Of the form varietal. Yes, indeed. I wanted to yak about leadership today. Leading the ship, if you will. And the reason why is because I had an individual who's in his master's program for leadership or some other form of leadership, his MBA, could be his MBA, I believe it was. And he was taking a leadership course for his MBA, and part of that course was reach out to leaders and business owners, right? And interview them and provide them with a series of questions. And so I obliged because, you know, I want to help the dude out. And anytime that anybody interviews you, it makes you think critically about those questions that you're being asked and make sure that you're providing thoughtful answers. And so I got to do a little bit of, some soul searching when I looked at the questions, and I got an opportunity to answer them, and I was just going to release them. I was going to release the interview on YouTube, but what ended up happening was it was a Zoom call, so it was terrible quality, terrible audio. And furthermore, there was a lot of banter between him back and forth, kind of like what's happening right now, really. But
Zoom stock just crashed.
A lot of fluff. So yeah, so it was it was a great interview. I think the worst part about the interview is that he was interviewing me, but I'll give it my best shot. I've developed a lot of leadership skills over the years of what to do, what not to do, and I still have a lot to learn. And I think that I just wanted to I almost wanted to duplicate what I went through yesterday and just do it with a little bit more concision, unlike probably the beginning of the podcast that we all just listened to, and go through this. And the reason why I want to do this about leadership is I think it's important. If anybody, we talk a lot about the Second Amendment in here. We talk a lot about firearms and gun rights, and sometimes we've bring levity to it, and sometimes it's serious. But there could be men and women out there who would like to start a company, who are in a position of leadership. This is not the be all end all. This is the way I do things. This is what I found that worked. These are the lessons that I learned along the way. And that's what I want to discuss today. If anybody's interested, that's what this podcast is about. If you're not, feel free to skip to the next one where we'll probably talk about guns. But as far as running a company and what I find to be my roadblocks, pitfalls, successes, and all the above in leadership, that's the things that I wanted to go over today because I think it is important, not just in your professional life, but in your personal life, as a father, as a husband, as a member of a family, as a son. We can take leadership roles in almost any position that we are in our life because everybody needs a leader, including a leader. And that is the truth.
That is a true fact.
Yep. It is. And so that's probably what I'll start with. I know that you are going to pose some of these questions for me. I'm going to also go through and find the ones that are meaningful to me. But I wanted to start with, if you are in a leadership position and you do not have a mentor, whether it's written, some sort of influencer, whether it's, I don't care if it's, Tony Robbins or, maybe Dale Carnegie because you're reading all his books, but everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs a leader. Even the guys at the most top of the food chain the Warren Buffetts have some sort of a mentor. They have a leader. I mean, he's very open about how he continues to educate himself and how he uses other people's experiences to lead him. Any good leader is going to be able to continue to digest information that's going to be able to propel themselves. And if they are not, then they are stagnant. And if you're stagnant, then you're essentially, you're going to get ran over, right? And you're going to fail to be able to lead, because as the people who we are attempting to lead are growing and changing and improving, we want to be doing the same. Always take it one step ahead.
Right.
So, yeah. And sometimes, I'm not saying fake it till you make it, but there's that interesting story about Frank Abagnale, I think it was, Catch Me If You Can guy. Yeah. So one thing that I found very interesting about that guy's story is so he was asked after everything happened, how did you pose as a college level sociology professor for an entire semester and never get caught? I mean, you had students in this class, you were teaching them, you were guiding them. And he said, oh, it's pretty simple, really. I knew what chapter they were on, and I just stayed one chapter ahead. So that's kind of the goal, right? We always want to be one chapter ahead.
And that's how you get a college degree.
And that's how you get a college degree. So, anyway, I think it's important. I have my own set of people that I follow, and it depends on what venue we're talking about. When you own a company, you typically have to wear a lot of hats, especially if it's a smaller company like this. Mm-hmm. And so what I'll do is, I've got my leaders in the marketing realm, and we've got our leaders in, I mean, even when it could be as simple as like, how to YouTube. Do we not follow certain people who know how to YouTube better than we do, right?
Absolutely.
We have those guys that are kind of like setting the benchmarks for us and showing us what to do. We're constantly educating ourselves in that realm when it comes to marketing. You got these Alex Hormozis out there that are just doing a great job of perpetuating how to close sales and how to take what and turn it into a brand. I mean, these guys are fantastic. And so a lot of it is, coming up with things on my own based on my own experiences. But a lot of what I'm saying today is just kind of regurgitating what I've heard through all these thought leaders, right? It's not thoughts of my own.
Right. Well, I can't tell you how many times that I've been scrolling the internet and, find a video like exactly like you said, somebody who is doing YouTube better, who's doing marketing better, whatever it might be.
Right.
Watch a video and go, well, now I guess I'm doing something new.
Yeah.
Right. You beg, borrow, and steal. That was one of the biggest things in my martial arts teachings is my teachers would always say, what's the best martial art? And then, of course, the typical answer is the one I'm doing, right?
Right.
And they would go, incorrect. There is no best martial art. There is no best way, right? There is only correct things and incorrect things.
Okay.
Right. So, and like you said, different. Mm-hmm. Right. Some people throw a punch one way, some people throw a punch another.
Right.
What you have to do is you have to take both, examine them, and go, which one is more efficient?
Okay.
And then get rid of the other one. And then just go, hey, that doesn't work. That doesn't work as well as this.
Okay. So are you of the brand, if we circle this back into firearms, and maybe we're getting a little off topic, but I think that's really good to note. So if you were training and you're executing a shot and you're doing it within a certain time, and you're doing it a certain way, but this guy over here is doing the exact same thing. As far as the time and the accuracy goes, he's just doing it a different way. Would you say that one is better than the other?
No. Because
the job essentially is getting done one way or the other.
Correct. Now there is something to be said about proper form and technique, right? If one way is potentially dangerous or uneconomic, right? You can get really fast at bad movement.
Right.
Right. And that's when you have to examine and go, okay, am I adding more things in here?
Or you would fail to maintain there could be a lack of consistency with that particular type of movement.
Correct.
Or go ahead and repeat that so you can do that, right? Yeah.
Right. It's like you'll see people that are punching out, going to work, right? They're shooting, and maybe they go for a reload and they really contort their body with it. As I get away from the mic, right? They really contort their body with it, and that's just inefficient movement.
Okay.
What we want to be able to do is just hand down and back up, right? We don't want to add that extra twist in there.
Right.
Right. So that would be something you can do, potentially the same move at the same speed while moving your body, but what's the point of it?
Right. That makes sense. Okay.
Just finding the little pitfalls that we fall into as people or bad habits.
Yep. And that is why self-reflection, journaling, getting quiet, meditation, that stuff is important if you have an opportunity to do it. And it doesn't have to be formal meditation, man. You don't have to get on the fucking floor and cross your legs and put your hands up and light fucking candles and put on music, right?
Yeah.
That is absolute formal meditation, but by no means, that's not what I do. Sometimes I just got to turn my shit off.
Right.
And sit at my desk and close my fucking eyes and just think about nothing. Like genuinely just try to fucking count my breaths and reset my goddamn mind.
Yeah. I like to go out and put my feet in the dirt and just like you said, just sit there and just go, I'm not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Yeah. And that's, physical exercise is so good for that as well. I mean, and the reason why we talk about this in leadership is because there are more things to, if you want to be at the top of your game, you got to be at the top of your game. You have to. I have to try to eat well and exercise and work out and balance the time that I get to spend with my family from the time that I get to, be here at work and the time that I get to feed my mind with, knowledge. And there's such a balance of this stuff, and it has to all happen because without one leg of the stool, it all comes crumbling down
so fast.
It does. It really does. So, there's the physical and the spiritual and the familial and, the monetary, and there's just a lot of utility in all of it. And it all holds each other up.
There is no one without the other, really.
There's not.
Yeah.
Did you have an initial interview question that you kind of wanted to go into?
Yeah, actually. So the interview you sent me, one of the primary questions that really stood out to me that I wanted to start on is, what does being a leader mean to you?
I would say that the best way to lead, it doesn't, you hear all these
analogies.
Analogies, I guess, but they're more of idioms, just sayings, right? Where they're like, you got to lead from the front. You got to lead by example. And while that's all fine and good, at its most fundamental form, I genuinely believe that it is a way to motivate and inspire people to get the things done that you want them to do without forcefully making them do it. Does that make sense?
It does.
And that's totally off the cuff because that question wasn't in these questions, unless it was. And
it is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I started with, when he interviewed me, I started with my leadership style, which is, I try to be more positive reinforcement than negative reinforcement. We'll get to that in a minute, but it's activating. Being a leader to me is being able to activate, inspire, and motivate the potential in people without forcing them to do it, without throwing money at the problem. And you genuinely have to do that. There's a series of ways that you can do that. And obviously you can pay people, but just because you pay somebody doesn't make you a leader. You have to be able to entrain them and inspire them and they have to be able to buy into your mission and your values. And I think that's huge around here. If you can get somebody to break their old belief system and to buy into your belief system and get them to align with your mission statement and align with your values, then you create this culture where everybody kind of is on the same path and the same road. And it's a wonderful thing to see. And it's an atrocity if it's not happening, because I've been in environments, whether it's in the military or in the civilian sector, where these things weren't aligning and, the leadership wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. And the culture of whatever unit that I was in, whether it was again in the civilian or the military sector, was not healthy. It is a terrible place to be. It's miserable. It really is, but it's miserable for everybody. And it only takes a couple people to ruin that shit.
Right. One bad apple can spoil the whole bunch.
Can spoil the bunch. So, I genuinely believe that if you can clearly define a vision and you can and you can let people know what the hell that is on a regular basis, and you continue to talk about it and you continue to talk about why. We don't just have a mission statement here at Tacticon. I spend a lot of time, whether people want to listen to it or not, but I'm always walking around ranting about our Constitution and the Second Amendment and why it's important. And, right? Everybody, sometimes I could be in somebody's office and the topic will come up and I'll just be like, well, you know what I think about the Constitution? And I'll just go off on this thing and I'll say, but I'll always tie it back into, but that's why we do the things that we do here, because we want to be able to keep the American citizens armed. We want to make sure that everybody is protected. We want to be able to honor our Constitution and protect our freedoms and all those other things, right? There's so much more that goes into a mission statement than well, this is what we do. We want to make sure that every American citizen has access to high quality and effective firearm equipment. But why? Right?
Right.
Like the why has to be the customers. It'd be great for all of our customers to know exactly why we do everything. And that's important as well. But it's not as important, in my opinion. It's not as important for the customers to know like the real fundamentals of why we do what we do than it is for the team to know why we do what we do.
Right.
Because that is what gets you up in the morning, right? That's what is going to kind of fuel the fire throughout the day. Because if you don't know why you're doing something, then you only know what you're doing.
Then you're only going through the steps.
You're only going through the motions. You only know what you're doing, which leads me into kind of the next point, which is like the positive and the negative reinforcement, right? There's two ways to lead, right? And that this ties into my philosophy of leadership, which is I've had the negative reinforcement. You know, the military is very good about that. Military is actually, actually, you know, there's a saying in the military called, you know, fuck up, move up, right? And it's all like, you see these dudes, they, you know, get in trouble over and over and over and they keep getting promoted. Why? Because they got time and grade or whatever. Or maybe they're, you know, out doing shenanigans with the leadership that ends up recommending them for the promotion. So it's very not merit. It's not very merit based in the military as much as it is like, I've just been here. And then you'll find that in any government agency, right? You know, just you sit there and suck up oxygen at a state job long enough, you'll get promoted to, you know, GS whatever. I don't know what their fucking pay grade system is, but you just got to stick around long enough and you'll get the paycheck you're looking for, regardless of the work that you're putting in. So it's less of a meritocracy. I believe in a genuine meritocracy when it comes to leadership. I think people should be rewarded for the things that they do good. I think they should be stagnant when and honestly, if they're not growing with the company and they're not improving with the company and they're just kind of like here, now what the fuck are you doing? Right? You might as well go somewhere else. And that's not me saying, you know, get the hell out of my company. That's like, you are not growing here. I don't want to hinder you.
Right.
Go grow somewhere else. Maybe this isn't for you. You know, I believe it is Dale Carnegie that says you got to get the right people on the bus. You got to get the wrong people off the bus, and you got to get the right people on the right seats on the bus. Because there's a lot of times where we'll have people work at the company where you don't have them in the right seat on the bus.
Right.
I've had people in this department that are better suited in this department. I mean, Danny, who's, you know, doing all the armor now. I mean, he initially started as a photographer for the products, right? And now he's chief operating officer because he's exhibited his willingness to be a leader, and he exhibited his talents and his willingness to learn new things, right? He wasn't always able to operate all the equipment that he operates now. He wasn't always effective at CAD. He wasn't always able to build out unique armor systems, but he can now because he educated himself. He took the time, and I recognized that he was willing to do that very quickly, and he was vocal about it. He didn't really even need to be vocal about it, to be honest with you. He never once said to me, hey, can I get a promotion? No, he was just like literally kind of promoted himself. He was like, oh, we're going to make an armor division? Cool. I'll handle that. And then he did. I didn't even have to ask him, right?
He was just on it.
He was on it.
Yeah.
And so these are the type of folks that are great for any organization because they're motivated. And as long as you give them the tools and as long as you provide them with all of the resources that they need to do their job, some people are very self-motivated. And some people, that's where the leadership aspect comes in. You have to consistently kind of set an example and inspire and motivate those around you to be able to get the job done, you know, and you do that through positive reinforcement. Alex Hormozy talks about this, and I really like this. He says, there's something called he's got a word for it, and I'll use a different word because I forget exactly how he coins it. But when you negatively reinforce a workplace where all you have is punishment, where you have, I'm not going to reward you for doing the good things, but I will punish you for doing the bad. All you were doing in a workplace, and I found this to be true, both being on the leading end of it and the follower end of it. It doesn't fucking work. What it leads to is people doing the bare minimum. I am in fear that I'm going to get fired, and here is the baseline of what I need to do to not get fired, and I will ride that baseline. And in very few exceptions, people will, on their own accord, do more. Very few exceptions.
Right. Well, I mean, what's the incentive?
I'm not tooting my horn. But I genuinely believe that I was one of those exceptions, that even if there was this, threat of retribution and retaliation and termination, that I would still try to do more than I was asked to do, even if I knew I wasn't going to get rewarded for it. But I didn't do it for very long. Eventually I got sick of it and I left and I started my own company. Right. And so that's why everybody's a teacher, man. Like there's good ones, there's bad ones. People show you what to do, but more importantly, they'll show you what not to do. And I think when you positively reinforce the workplace, you reward them for doing good things, you acknowledge them in front of their peers, you give them more money, just the pat on the back, just the recognition. Like, hey, I saw that.
Right.
Thank you. You give them a little bit of time off. Well, right? Hey, take some time off, whatever, right?
Right. Carl brought this up to me. Carl's one of our production guys.
Yeah.
He, we were sitting down and talking, and he just said, Nolan, he's like, a lot of people forget just how much is simple. I see how hard you're working, and you are appreciated. Can go.
Yep.
And I was like, you are correct, sir.
Yep.
And he looks at me and goes, I see you. You're appreciated. And I was like fluttered. I was like, oh, really?
Did he say, baby, I'm a buddy old bread?
He did afterwards, which was a little weird. And then he turned off the lights.
Turned off the lights? We're going to play a little game. It's called Who's in My Mouth.
Guess where my hands are. But it really is just like, just how much a simple, like, you're appreciated.
Yeah.
I see the hard work you're putting in, right? Just that recognition.
Right.
It's amazing how far something as little as that can go.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is. It's and what you get out of people is there's all of the potential energy that somebody is willing to exhibit. So instead of doing the baseline, right? If here's the baseline and here is their potential, this area between baseline and potential you're paying them the same rate to do the bare minimum or to execute at a higher level. When people are rewarded, they tend to execute at a higher level. So reward them and acknowledge them. Right. And it works not only with employees, it works for your kids. I mean, it works for your wife. It works for your friends. I mean, you want to maintain friendships, compliment your friends, let them know when they're doing good. You're obviously, sometimes being a good friend is also like, hey man, like don't say that. It's kind of fucked up, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a good friend too.
Yeah, that is a good friend.
It doesn't mean you got to get down on them, but good friends will be honest with you.
Absolutely.
You could be a leader in every aspect of your life. And I'm not fucking perfect. I'm not here giving a sermon on leadership. I've read enough about it. I've been exposed to enough good leaders where I know what to do and I know what not to do. And I often fall short, but I definitely, that's the point of like that meditation and just not, even if it's not a long period of meditation, just sitting back, reflecting on the day. What did I do right? What did I do wrong?
Right.
What can I do better?
It's so powerful.
It is.
It's so powerful to sit there and actually unnarcissistically look at yourself and go, oh, did I fuck up?
Did I fuck up?
Did I
and
fuck
when
up
you
today?
do, admit when you're wrong because it's huge, man.
Yeah.
It's huge. I mean, you cannot take, how can you possibly fix something that you don't know is a problem?
Right.
Right. And sometimes self-diagnosing your own issues is great, but even better way to diagnose your issues is, if people are willing to be honest with you, which sometimes is hard to do if you're the boss because they either want to please you or because there's fear of retaliation, which hopefully there's not in your workplace, but you want people to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you have to do that anonymously so that people feel more comfortable, right? So
yeah, that's a difficult position to be in as a boss.
Yeah.
But that's why you got to surround yourself with people who are willing to tell you no and people who are willing just to say it to your face.
It's a perfect. I'm glad you said that, man. I think there's nothing more fatal to a leader than a bunch of yes men surrounding him. You know what I mean? You have to be able to have dissenting opinion. You have to understand that, not everything that comes out of your mouth is, or out of your actions is the Midas touch.
Right.
Not everything is going to be.
Not everything's turning to gold.
Right. Yeah. Having a spouse who, calls you out on your shit.
God, it's the best thing you could do.
I'm not like, I would much rather have, I would much rather have a wife that, it's just like, oh, it's just Jake being Jake. But no. She'd be like, hey,
cut your shit.
Yeah, don't act like that.
Yeah.
Or you're being a you're being a dick to that guy. Why did you treat that guy like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just not paying attention. You know, why are you talking to we were going through the gate one time and I'm irritated because, we're going to our friend's house. Our friend lives in this gated community. The gate has guards.
The worst.
Right?
The worst.
Like, guards? Really? You're gonna, I've been in here 400 times. Okay, hold on. There's nothing wrong with having a guard at your fucking gate.
Right.
But this guard has seen me
a
100 times. And and the reason why he's seen me is because not only are we friends with these individuals that we go in there, we are friends with multiple people inside this place that we go visit our friends. There are several people because those people are the parents of they are the parents of my daughter's friends, right? And so I'm in there all the time, dropping the kids off, picking them up. They've got piano practice in there, whatever.
Right.
This guy has seen me 400 fucking times. So I am giving him, I'm being a dick.
Right.
Right.
Like I see you all the time.
He's all, need to see your driver's license. Right. Right. I'm like, dude, you know me by first and last name. He's like, I know Jacob Dines, man, but gotta see the driver. Right.
It's protocol. Just doing my job.
My wife sees my fucking veins start popping out of my head. It's really not that big of a fucking deal. Just pull your driver's license out.
It is to me, man.
He's just doing his job, but
I can think of some other people that just did their job too.
But here's the thing is so if I went through that gate and I went through it by myself enough times and I didn't have a wife who loved me, who doesn't want me to be an asshole to people, especially a guy just doing his job.
Right.
And I live in my own head enough, and I had a yes wife who's just like, I don't care. It's just Jake being Jake. I would eventually go through that gate and look at him, and I didn't do this, but I would eventually probably go, listen, motherfucker, I've been in this, you know what I mean? And I'd cause a scene. And then maybe I'd never get let into the community because I was
because you're an asshole.
Because I was being aggressive, I don't know. Like I don't fucking know. But before I met her, that would often be how I behaved.
Right.
I would kind of do what I want when I wanted. Before I met her, before I surrounded myself with other people, before I really took a good look inside of how I was behaving and how I was treating people, I would often do that shit, dude. I just kind of fucking live my life, dude. And if you're in my fucking way, I'd run you over.
Dude, that is
not a good way to live.
Step for step, what I tell Carly. Carly will ask me sometimes like, why do you love me? Like, what is it that draws you to me, right? And not in a way that she's feeling insecure, but she's wondering like, hey, what are you thinking today? Right? Like, what are you thinking that draws you to me today?
Yeah.
And I will quite frequently tell her, before you, I was an asshole.
Yeah.
And you make me not an asshole.
Yeah.
And and she wanted me to elaborate on that one day. And it was the fact that she was there to check my actions and to make me empathetic in situations where I needed to be empathetic.
Yeah.
Because before it was, oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. I don't care. Moving on. Let's continue with life here.
Right.
Right. Like, oh, I just got my window broken. Like, oh, dude, that sucks. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let's move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%, dude. I'm on board with that. There is, I lack empathy inherently.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just, I don't know if it was part of the indoctrination process in the military where they're just like, you kind of have to lack a certain level of empathy at some point. You have to be able to turn it on and turn it off. Anybody, and I don't know if that I think I maybe used to have it, but I just failed to turn it back on when I got out.
No, I understand that because I was trained very old school in martial arts, which old school meaning your instructor's gonna hit you. Like you're gonna take the hits, you're gonna train long, hard hours, and you're gonna be conditioned essentially to in a fight be able to take a life. Right? Yeah. It's not we're just gonna, we're gonna play point sparring. No, it's like we're fighting for survival. So no, I definitely understand that. You have to be able to turn off that empathetic response towards a human being.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of it, the way I was raised. Now my parents were very giving and very empathetic, but when it came to me, doing things wrong, when I wanted the sympathy, it often wasn't warranted. And I grew up in a house where it was like, hey, you need to get outside and clean the pool and pull the weeds but it's hot, and I'm like, I'm fresh out of fucks. Get outside, right? So it's so, I don't know. My wife has asked me that exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
My wife has asked, you say, I love you. And then she says, well, why?
Why? Yeah.
Why do you love me?
Yeah.
And
thanks, babe.
Unequivocally, I've always been able to kind of win her heart by, and win her trust by being able to tell her the honest truth, which is when her and I met, I could not, I tell her all the time, I look her in her eyes and I say, you have the nicest set of kneecaps that I've ever seen. Like, she's got the nicest kneecaps. I'd never seen elbows or kneecaps like hers. Her joints are just amazing. They really are. And it's meaningful to me,
right?
Because joints are very important on the body. And
they are. They will keep you going.
Sometimes you find somebody without a really nice joint, without a nice kneecap. I've seen a bad kneecap, and it's not something I would want to marry.
It's not pleasurable to look at.
Not pleasurable to look at. So, no, but it is. I genuinely think it's.
Why do you love me? That ass.
That ass, no. That wop.
Those kneecaps. Oh. Damn it.
Baby, could I buy you a fish sandwich? Yeah, that's good.
That's cute. Mm-hmm. That's real good.
I've been with the lowliest, most run-down, nastiest bus station skanks, all the way up to the highest, most high-class, high society, most debutante bus station skanks. You know what I'm saying? Who's that?
I want to say that's Chappelle.
That's Ladies Man.
Ladies Man?
Come on, man.
Blanking.
Ladies Man with Leon Phelps. The Ladies Man.
Leon Phelps?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
Talents. He's reading off his resume. He got talents here. It says debit. Oh yeah, that's the butt. You haven't seen that?
I've never seen it.
Jesus.
Well, now I got to, dude.
Now you got it.
Now I got to.
It was an old SNL skit, and they made a movie out of it, kind of like Night at the Roxbury.
Oh, anyway, gotcha. Okay.
I got it. On a serious note, my wife has asked me that exact same question. On a seriously note, although she has a wonderful kneecap too, really, it is my answer is exactly that. I am a different human because of her, right? She softened me up. Yin to the yang.
Right.
She has all of the things that I lack, right? The empathy and the nurturing and the caring, and I'm just rough around the edges, and I'm kind of a bull in a china shop, and I just wreck everything that's in my fucking way. And she makes everything very beautiful that's in her way.
Right.
She builds a very, she decorates the house very nice. Everything's very organized, and I'm very disorganized, and everything's in disarray. So that's another key thing about being a leader, I think, if we're going to circle that back into this conversation after that nonsense that we just went through. I think one of the really
Your wife's kneecaps are not nonsense. Don't talk about her like that.
Not nonsense. I think what's really important is identifying your weaknesses.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily making them strengths. It's great to work on weaknesses, but trying to work on something that you're not good at, oftentimes you'll just be still not good at it, right?
Yeah.
There's this old line that, I love it when people say, I'm working on my defects of character. Good luck, but your defects of character are why you're in the position in the first place. So you're gonna work on them. You're gonna make them fucking worse. Yeah. Is what you're gonna do. So, really, what I'm trying to get at is, if we identify our weaknesses as leaders, and we have the opportunity to surround ourselves with those who complement our weaknesses, it can kind of make us whole, right? So there are plenty of people, especially the lieutenants that are in this company, that help run it, all the management in this company. Mm-hmm. Each one of them exhibits a lot of talents that I don't have, either character traits that I lack, empathy that I lack, foresight, whatever it happens to be, whatever trait. There's a lot of people in this company, not just management, but also employees, who genuinely have skills. And I'm not talking about, well, this guy can run this particular piece of equipment and I don't know how to. I'm talking about just skills as a human being, leadership skills, leadership traits that I lack often, right? And I think that's important, because if you build that around you, you kind of become this whole very powerful thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's where the direction that we're headed. With our powers combined, Basically what I'm saying, Nolan, is you complete me.
Mi corazon.
Cortisone?
Yeah, my cortisone. My cortisol levels are spiking.
Cream? Like you need cream? Do you have hemorrhoids? Do you,
Preparation H?
Preparation H. Not sure what question that stemmed off of, but I figured that was a lovely little rant.
It was beautiful.
But it all ties into leadership, not only in the workplace, but in our relationships and how, people can complement us and kind of fill those voids, fill the things that we lack. So I'm not rapping.
I'm just going to cut that out then. I'm just going to cut that portion out.
And if you saw him say, I'm just going to cut that out, you'll never know what it was.
Ooh. I might just leave that in there.
Fucking right.
I'm just going to cut that out.
Come on, man. Let me see it.
Let me see the precious.
Let me see the precious.
Points if you know who that is.
Yeah.
Brownie points. You're not getting anything.
No, not on this one. Not on this one.
But if you know who said, and it's not Gollum, let me see
it's
the
not
precious.
Gollum. Just let me see your precious.
Let me see your precious.
Yeah. It's somebody
Show
in
me the precious. No, don't eat. No hits.
It's just not Gollum.
It's just not Gollum. Show me the precious.
All right. Let us know.
Letucci.
Lechuga.
Lechuga.
Dame tuche lechuga. That sounds so dirty, but it's just give me your lettuce.
El garrote de Pepe. An old man's walking stick.
¿Dónde está el gato? El gato es en la biblioteca. El gato es muy inteligente.
I need to get you on radio.
You saying I got a face for radio?
I think you could be like the guy that remember back in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
That would introduce movies.
Yeah.
In a world. Like that guy.
One man.
Yep.
One mission.
One Tom Cruise.
One Tom Cruise. Yeah. That would be I used to have you remember when you used to set text messages from certain people to a certain tune?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I still do that. You have a specific tune to my phone.
Ah.
Yeah.
Nice. No wonder you always answer it. Is it Jitterbug? You put the boom boom in my heart. Yeah. I'd love to hear.
I wish. All right. Go ahead and shoot me a little text.
Okay.
Do you know why that is your text tone?
I have no idea why that is my text tone.
I will give you the answer for that. It is the perfect level of startling and attention grabbing. Every time I get a boing, I'm like, what's going on? I'm ready.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You automatically get into the praying mantis.
It was funny because you messaged me last night, around 9:30.
Yeah.
And it went boing. And Carly goes, "Not now, Jake. It's bedtime."
I thought she was going to say something else. Because it said boing boing, and I thought you were going to say "not now, Nolan." I'm trying to sleep.
Trying to sleep, Nolan. Not now.
Boing. At a text message, it goes back to you saying that I should be in radio. Brad, my buddy Brady.
Brad Pitt?
my buddy Brad Pitt. I had a buddy named Brad in the military, and he would always used to say, "You got a face for radio." And so I recorded him saying that every time he would text me.
Nice.
"You got a face for radio."
So sweet.
Tis my favorite. Totally irrelevant. We might want to cut that out.
No, we're keeping that in.
So anyway, so getting back to
full circle
to the matter at hand, I think there was something very important that I wanted to go over.
Es muy importante.
Es muy importante.
We should hold a podcast in full Spanish.
We should. Okay, so he asked me this question, and
was it a curious question?
He didn't like the answer to it at first,
okay,
until I explained myself, but it's not. It's almost a rhetorical question. Because most people would answer it a certain way. Do you view employees as expendable?
Yes, that worker ants to be used at my will.
Yeah. Right? kind of a rhetorical question.
Right.
Do you view employees as expendable?
Right. Nobody's going to say yes.
Nobody's going to say yes. Well, I fucking said yes.
Well, they are, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. So I said, listen, let's just be very matter of fact here. Employees are expendable.
Right.
I am expendable.
Right.
Everybody is expendable. Steve Jobs was expendable.
Correct.
He is replaced by, what, Tim Cook or something right now?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's not expendable. Nobody knows who the fucking new CEO is. But here's the deal is the company is still moving right along. I don't know how well they're doing. I don't follow their stock. But regardless, somebody very important in that company, a thought leader in the tech industry, is now no longer with that company, yet that company still exists.
Right.
Everybody is expendable. I am expendable. There is some kid in his garage right now waiting to eat my fucking lunch, right? The competition is out there. If I don't stay...
No, that's your daughter in your garage eating your lunch right now.
Damn it. I mix those things up. But legitimately, I think here's the difference. Employees are expendable, but you don't treat them like they are.
Correct.
That's the difference.
Right.
You never treat somebody like I can replace you right away. Right? That's the wrong fucking answer, right? We treat people with respect.
Well, that's why you answering yes would be so startling.
It is startling, right? But if we're being honest, yeah, dude, we're all expendable, right? From the guy that pushes the broom to the guy that runs the CNC machine to the guy that runs the marketing to the guy. Yeah, would it be painful if somebody left? Of course. Could they be replaced? Of course.
There's probably like 1,000 people who are doing editing on Fiverr.
Right.
Like I could be replaced. Yeah. Replace me.
So here's the biggest, I want to distinguish this real quick between what being expendable is and in fact, let me choose my thoughts carefully here before I speak so I don't get anything taken out of context.
There's already
I
plenty.
think a good leader does not treat his employees or her employees as if they were expendable. I think a good employee works as if he or she is expendable. And the reason why is because there's a lot of humility in understanding that you can be replaced. There's a lot of humility knowing that you could be, at any given time, passed on promotion, replaced, terminated, right? If you view yourself as indispensable, I think that could be a slippery slope in. Now, I'm not talking about confidence. It's okay to have confidence in your workplace and confidence in your job. But if you walk around thinking, I can't be fired, they can't touch me.
Right.
What motivation do you have to genuinely do the job that you need to do and to excel? There's a lot of humility that has to be had in both a leader and in an employee. And understanding that a leader can be expendable as a leader, if we understand that we are expendable and we can be replaced, we will genuinely try as hard as we possibly can to work towards that kind of unattainable value that we are indispensable. And just understand that we will never be indispensable, but we can try to attain that level of enlightenment, if you will, right? There's just a lot of humility and understanding that you are.
Right.
But there's nothing good about being treated like you are, right? Walking into a room full of people who are on the team and going, I could replace you at any fucking second. That is completely unacceptable.
Oh, absolutely.
You do not do that, right? And not you, but I mean we as leaders do not act that way. But we should tell ourselves that I could be replaced because I can. Somebody can put me out of business.
I'm working on
next week. It's possible. So, and we could also obviously tie that back into, Jason just mentioned, you can tie that into marriage, right? Thinking that nobody could ever leave you. No matter what I do, she can't leave me. She can't, we shouldn't obviously be in a relationship where we have the fear of somebody leaving us. But there is always a healthy fear that is underlying and is the foundation of our relationships and our employment of I can be replaced.
I'm really
I should do the things that I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. I'm really happy you brought that up because it's speaking from more of an employee standpoint, right? In my positions, it's one of those things like I do look at myself as expendable. I've never been in a position where I'm like, I can't be replaced. But I never work at a place where I feel I'm going to be replaced.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And so that like, hey, I could be replaced. I could miss this opportunity. That's what strives me to do better. And I'm happy you full circled that around to marriage, because as partners in general, I don't want to say just as men, because as partners in general, whether you're male or female or upside down and quasi blue, doesn't matter. We should always be striving to be doing the best that we can, whether it's in the work field or whether it's in that relationship field, right? Just because you get the girlfriend, just because you get the wife, just because you ascertain that relationship doesn't mean your job is over. Right? It's a constant learning process of how can I be better?
Right.
How can I keep that motion going? How can I progress?
Yeah. Leaders grow. And I think and we continue to educate ourselves. We continue to, I am a firm believer that whether you're pushing a broom or whether you're the CEO of a major corporation, you could be a leader. In fact, I would venture to say that I've seen a lot of people that have not a lot of people, but I've met a few folks who were in positions of leadership that were less of a leader than the guy that was packaging packages in the shipping room.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just by the qualities that they exhibit, the examples that they lead by, the way that they hold themselves, carry themselves, and help the people around them get the job done.
Right. Their demeanor, their attitude,
A leader in a field where you don't actually have anybody that directly reports to you. You have teammates. Everybody's got teammates. Everybody's got, employees that work around them and with them. And if you're assisting them and giving your time and knowledge to them to help them accomplish the mission without anybody having to tell you to do that, that's leadership. And that's the thing that people look for when they're hiring, right? When they're promoting, right? That's what I look for when I promote, right? That's what we all look for. Like, what type of initiatives did he take or she take outside of her normal job description, right? To go above and beyond the call of duty. Because that's what you want in somebody that is going to be managing a department. You want them to think outside the box, not have to be micromanaged, allow them to take ownership of whatever position that they're in. And I think that's super important. So, for the guys listening that are applying to jobs, that are looking for work, I can tell you as an employer, when we look at resumes, one of the things that we're seeing nowadays is just, under the skills and abilities tab, upper resume, it says, show up to work on time. Okay. Do not ever put anything on a resume that is par for the course. It is my opinion that a resume is the most selfish document on the planet. It truly is. It is a whole paper written about only you.
That's why I hate them. I hate writing resumes.
It is a very selfish document. And if you're not going to get that down, the thing that is about you, the way I look at it, well, you didn't capitalize your own name. So why are you going to give a shit about me? Why are you going to give a shit about Tacticon? Right? If you can't capitalize your own last name, I can't, it's those little things, right? And if you can't follow instructions, so one of the things that we do, I'm not sure if we still do this, but I know we certainly used to do this, was we would say, copy and paste your resume to the body of the email. That was the only instruction that we gave for applying to the job. And they would attach the resume to the email. I'm like, it was the only thing that I instructed when applying for the job was copy and paste the resume. And so when you get one that's attached to the email, it's a very easy vetting process. You just delete the email because they didn't follow the instructions. So look for instructions when your employee says, hey, attach a resume and a cover letter and do it this way.
Right.
Don't include your references. Right. It's do the things that they're asking you, because oftentimes it's not an accident that they're putting instructions in there.
It's step one of the interview process.
Step one of the interview process. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's a very good way to kind of weed the ones out that aren't paying attention, and weed the ones out that if you don't care about you, I don't care about you.
Right.
And you're not going to care about me.
Right. I don't know you.
I don't even know you.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, capitalize your name. I've seen that so many times. It's the weirdest thing.
Show up to work.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Show up to work on time.
Show up to
Par
work
for the
on
course,
time.
man. Congratulations.
That scares me, honestly. That makes me feel like you wouldn't show up to work on time.
Terrifying.
Right?
Yeah. If you're telling me you do, then you don't.
Right. The last resume that I filled out was when I was applying for a bar position up in Reading. And I hadn't made a resume in such a long time at this point. I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I put out in my skills? Right? I'm like, I have a weird subset of skills. I'm like, I've done everything. And I was just like, you know what? I was like, I'm just going to make sure that I get an interview.
Yeah.
Because I'm an in-face kind of guy. You give me an interview, I most likely am going to get the job. I've never been turned down. That's not a cocky thing. That's my record so far.
Right.
But under my skills tab, I put can do a backflip.
Oh, I love it.
Love it.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's an actual skill. That would be intriguing to me, even though it has nothing to do for the job. It shows me that you have personality and that you can do a backflip and most people can't.
Right.
So this is one thing that I can do that most people can't.
Yeah, he was sitting there and he turned out, we became friends, good friends after.
Did he tell you to do a backflip in the interview?
He looked at it, he goes, can you really do a backflip? I said, absolutely. You want me to do one right now? And we were sitting in the restaurant. He goes, later.
Yeah.
Later. I ended up, we were hanging out at his house one day and he was like, so can you actually do a backflip? I'm like, yeah, dude, check it. I did a backflip. He's like,
nice. That's
impressive.
That is good. Yeah. That's good to have a little personality in the resume and not be so bland. It's, part of the interview process really is, or part of getting the job process, at least with us and the way that we go about it is it's the initial, did you follow the instructions? What does your resume look like? Just like it is with anybody else. And then there's the initial interview. And the interview is, to be honest with you, I could give a shit about the things that you know how to do.
Right.
I could teach anybody, not I, but, we, between all of us on the team. Between everybody on the team, we can teach anybody to pretty much do anything if you got half a brain cell, right? So that's not an issue.
Right.
Right. I teach you how to do this or use this. I don't care that you come with all this experience. Better if you did. That's fantastic. But not how well do you interview? Because you could be a total psychopath and interview well.
Right. We've seen those.
But questions that generate whether or not questions we generate that let us know how you're going to fit into the culture, right? If you've got a strong stance against the Second Amendment, well, clearly, we've had those. Well, we had even ones that made it all the way into the interview, because I know which one you're talking about. We get a lot of replies like, fuck guns and fuck you, right? But we also get I'll come in for an interview and they find out what we do and we'll say, what's your opinion on the Second Amendment? I don't even know if I'm allowed to ask that, but
it's kind of an important question for working at a Second Amendment company.
Correct. So, but I want to know, like, are you, what do you think about guns? Like, it's not what's your opinion on the Second Amendment? Because a lot of times people haven't actually thought that through. It's more of, what do you think about guns?
Right.
Right. If they're like, oh, I don't like them. I understand that some people need to hunt. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Right. Or, I don't really have an opinion on them, but, I think, as long as, you're licensed, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you're not going to like what you see walking around the whole corridors.
Right, so all these, it just really depends on, like, that's a very, that's par for the course. That's baseline.
Right.
And then it's like just the general banter back and forth. Like, do I feel, I know how we all act around here and I know how we behave and I know, just the general vibe. Right. You could tell you could tell right away whether somebody is going to get grossly offended the second they walk through the door threshold.
Oh, absolutely.
Or if they're gonna be like, all right,
are they going to be able to throw it back a little bit?
This is my tribe.
Right.
So I think that's important. And then they go in from there. They go into a working interview, which they get paid for. I think that's incredibly important for anybody that's looking to hire, like in the future in companies, is to hold a working interview. Let that person just spend the cash and pay them to work here for a week, have them help out around, and then you'll really see if they're able to
see how they mesh.
You'll see how they mesh into the culture. You'll see how they get in and integrate into your culture and whether or not they can, they can pick things up. The guy that interviewed me yesterday brought up a very interesting point. What was an interesting question? And it was a question that I think I answered incorrectly, believe it or not.
Nice.
He corrected me. And
You're like, this is an interview. This isn't a multiple choice.
No, yeah. It was interesting. He said, what is more important to you when you're hiring, potential or initiative? And my knee-jerk reaction was, I think my answer was, I think that they're synonymous, and I think potential and you know, and initiative are synonymous. I mean, if you're going to have any level of potential, you have to take initiative to get there. But apparently that was the wrong answer.
That is incorrect.
And it's not that there was a right.
It's a beautiful idea.
It's a beautiful idea.
It's a beautiful idea.
And I just didn't really get an opportunity to think about it when he asked me, but when he told me his opinion of it, it made a lot of sense to me. And you know, and we went in to talk about how, well, anybody can sit in an interview and tell you they have potential.
Right.
Right? How do you know they have potential? Because they tell you they have potential? Initiative are things that are tangible. You can see these things.
Right.
You could tell by the way that they've scripted their resume or the way that they're speaking to you, the way the intentions that they have for where they're going to take the company and what they would like to do and what they can do for you. Like, these are the initiatives. When they start in that working interview and they take the initiative just to take the trash out or replace the fucking toilet paper roll in the bathroom, like these small things, those are initiative.
Right.
Right?
The what can I do?
The what
else can I do?
And potential to take the trash out. Everybody's got potential to take the trash out. Everybody's got potential to replace a toilet paper roll. And we've all got potential. But do we have the initiative?
We certainly find a lot don't.
Right. Yeah. The reason why I say that is because there's a pretty big problem around here at Tacticon about the toilet paper rolls not being replaced.
I've even made a video for it, which is upsetting.
You did have to make a video for it.
Yeah.
But even on the simplest levels of those types of things, right? Did that employee take initiative to ask the question before he ultimately did it wrong? So, yeah, everybody's got a lot of potential. But
Right.
any psychopath can sit inside of an interview and tell you that they've got all the potential in the world. The initiative is demonstrated during a working interview or during a 90-day probationary period, which is the next phase of that interviewing process, essentially.
Right.
And then after the 90-day probationary period, then they become a Tacticon SEAL.
Tacticon SEAL.
They've made it through butts. No, it's
They made it through butts.
butts. I don't have a whole lot. I mean, I have a whole lot more on this. I just don't want to. I mean, we're running out of time, and I don't want to turn this into a 3-hour interview. But
We got all the time in the world, baby girl.
yeah. So, you know, to wrap things up, I don't even know how to conclude this.
I got it.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Give me. Hold on. My phone's vibrating in between my pants. And
In betweenst.
in betwixt. For the aspiring leaders out there, or for the aspiring business owners and people wanting to step up to positions of leadership, what are the 3 main things, just to conclude it all? It can even be things that we said, the 3 main things to focus on to push yourself further as a leader, as a boss, whatever it may be.
I'll give you a couple, though, for sure. It may end up being 3. It may end up being 2.
I see 5 in my future.
could be 7. I think one of the most important things is find your mentors, right? Get out. And I could sit here and recommend, the people that I tend to follow and who I look to be leaders and mentors. But I think the more important thing is everybody's not for everybody, right? Some people take a very, I say get out there and find the business leadership. It could be anybody from, Tony Robbins to, Warren Buffett. I don't know, right? People respond differently to different mentors. Find your mentor, read their books, continue to educate yourself. And then, second, like I mentioned before, I think the most important thing to do is today with the people that are around you, if you consistently take the initiative to get out and look for who you can help around you, whether or not you're in a leadership position or not, that will make you a leader. Helping out your teammates, doing what is right, integrity, which is just doing the right thing, even when nobody's looking, right? I mean, it genuinely is, right? Just having that integrity to be able to take care of business and help those around you and not expect anything in return, selfless service. Those are the things that genuinely make good leaders. It takes a lot of humility. It takes some introspective, it takes a good look inside to understand what you're not good at, be able to admit that, improve on those things, or establish a tribe around you that can make up for those things that you may lack, in your traits and your talents. And it is very possible. I do want to say this, and the third thing is, So what we are doing, and this isn't really a third thing to do, but it's a third thing to hopefully look forward to. To those out there who are listening to us and who are wondering how we run the business, how we do the marketing, how we build the products, how we prototype the products, how we R&D the products, how you hire people, how you build a website, how you run search engine optimization and pay-per-click marketing. And there's so many things that go into running a business. If you're wondering how we do that, you and I are putting together a course here pretty soon.
Correct.
Directly affiliated and directed toward the Second Amendment community. Answering those questions. Everything from how to make a holster to how to run a CNC machine to how to how to get it online, how the sales funnel works, how to run an email list,
how to establish a brand, how to set up your videos, how to
establish a brand,
right.
how to make the logos. So much. There's so much that goes into it, and there's nothing out there, really kind of catered to the Second Amendment community. There's nothing out there that's catered to those who want to start a business, run a business, or even help whatever business that they're in, if they're in the Second Amendment community, a Second Amendment related business, be able to take it to the next level. There's really nothing out there that caters to our industry, because it is genuinely, like, our industry, in my opinion, maybe this is just me being a bitch, but I genuinely think we are discriminated against. Anybody who's, has a staunch take on the Second Amendment tends to, we've got to, it's an uphill battle, right? Trying to get our rights back. And I think the more people that we have getting into business that is relative to the Second Amendment and our defense, not only the better off are we going to be as American citizens, and the safer we are going to be due to the ubiquity of the products that we will have access to, but it will also hopefully start normalizing things, because, well, how about that little fella? Speaking of guns.
How about that?
I think what it'll do, it'll give opportunities for other American citizens to hire other American citizens and really get an appreciation for what a Second Amendment company is about, right? And there's a lot of, for example, it's not like I'm here to brainwash people, but there's a lot of people that started working for us that were pretty indifferent about the Second Amendment. They didn't really have opinion one way or the other. They could take guns or leave it. They had no opinion.
Right.
And they are staunch supporters of it, and they truly understand the mission. They understand how important it is now. And I'm not saying everybody at our company does, but I've watched the evolution of people truly kind of develop an appreciation of what it is that we're trying to do here, and what it is that, the Second Amendment is all about, and how it protects our freedom. So it does nothing but perpetuate, the
culture.
Sure. And our rights. It does nothing but help out the entire category of the 2A category in general. So anyway, we're putting something together. We are doing the best we can to get it done. It might be a few months, but let us know in the comments if you guys
This is your first little tease about it.
Yeah, it really is kind of the first time we started talking about it. We've been doing some planning around it. I've thought a lot about it. I've lost a lot of sleep about it. That's all I can kind of think about nowadays. I really want to put this thing together. Probably what I'm going to do is, just to give you guys some of the details about it, we'll probably get about 30% of the course developed. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And then do a pre-release, and then let a bunch of access in, so that we can get some feedback on what the actual users want to see us,
like an early access, if you will.
Yeah, and it'll be probably a quarter of the cost of what it would normally cost for the course, and but we'll be able to get in there and work with you guys and really kind of build a course out based on the needs of the students in the course. So. And everything from video editing to, you name it, right? We're really going to try to cover everything we can as it revolves around the Second Amendment, because it's a very specific road to navigate when you're in this industry. It's not like, look, if I taught somebody how to, let's say I had a blender company, I made blenders, and well, if I make blenders and kitchen appliances, I could also probably show you how to start a furniture business. I could also probably show you how to start a bathroom supply business, or an office supply business. But this industry there are so many regulations around it. Right. There's so many things you can and can't do with pay-per-click marketing, and can and can't do with social media marketing, and what's allowed and what payment processors to get. It's not easy. They don't make it easy for us. So that being said,
because we're merchants of
keep a
death.
lookout on it. But what I really want to know for the people who are actually still hanging on to the very end here and listening is if you guys would be willing to participate in that, at least on that early run, because before you and I really start getting down in the dirt and doing some work here on it and spending a lot of the time on it, I do need to know that there's some interest in there's demand, but everything will be laid out. We're going to try to, whatever roadblocks you think there would be, we will get you over those roadblocks and those hurdles. So, if it's
hopefully,
well, I don't have money. I don't have money to sell product. It's fine. You could drop ship ours. I don't know how to build a website. It's okay. I'm going to show you how to. And if not, I have a done for you template that, you could literally just copy and paste onto the site. So there's a lot of things that are going to be a part of this course that will, anybody can really take it and do it. And you can really kind of apply it to any business. It's just going to be more catered to the 2A businesses, but yeah. All right, cool. Well, that is it for me today, unless you've got something to add.
No,
all right.
Absolutely not.
It's about that time to get up out of this mug anyway.
Well, with that,
I bid thee
acquiesce.